Welcome to the Champs App podcast. Champs App is your recruiting and development copilot. If you are a player, parent, or coach, make sure to check out more content and tools to help navigate the world of youth hockey at champs.app. Also, if you've listened to the Champs App podcast in the past and it has helped you with your recruiting or hockey development, please tell your teammates and friends about Champs App. It would be even better if you subscribe to the podcast and review or rate us on whichever platform you're listening to or watching us on. On today's episode, we talk with Courtney Kessel, head coach of the Princeton women's ice hockey program. We discuss her hockey path as a player into becoming a coach at both the collegiate and professional levels. Courtney also discusses playing in the Ivy League and how the team has been so successful under her short tenure. She also gives her perspective on the recruiting process. This was a great conversation with Courtney, so please enjoy. Want honest feedback on where your game is today? Champs IQ gives you an unbiased look at where you stand and what you need to work on. Just submit at least 10 minutes of your edited game shift for skaters or goalies, and our expert scouts deliver an objective, data-driven analysis of your play. We evaluate more than 15 skills, providing an overall rating and a projection of your NCAA Division I potential. You'll know exactly where you stand and how to improve. And now, Champs IQ is also available as a gift card, making it the perfect gift for motivated players. Get your report or give one today. I'm excited to welcome today's guest, Courtney Kessel, head coach of the Princeton women's hockey team. A native of Etobicoke, Ontario, Courtney played college hockey at the University of New Hampshire, captaining the team in her senior year. She competed internationally with Hockey Canada, won gold as U18 head coach in 2023, and has coached both at the collegiate and professional levels, including as the inaugural head coach of the Boston Fleet in the PWHL. This season, she returns to Princeton as head coach after previously been an assistant for 4 seasons prior to the PWHL. Welcome to the podcast, Courtney.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, so you obviously grew up in the Greater Toronto area playing hockey in Etobicoke. Maybe just talk about how you started playing hockey and give us a little bit of your hockey history like we do all of our guests.
Yeah, lots of hockey in Toronto, that's for sure. I kind of started playing. We have a Christmas family tradition and we played outdoor hockey. And my uncle went up to my mom and was like, she's got to play hockey. And so jumped on the ice. I grew up in Malton, so small rink. And I couldn't stop for, I think, 2 years. So I could go really fast, but I couldn't figure out stopping. But once I figured that out, yeah, I went on to play in the GTHL boys hockey, and then I went and played for the Toronto Arrows. Obviously, went off to the University of New Hampshire for 4 years, and absolutely had a blast. Was fortunate enough to play for Hockey Canada while I was at UNH for the under 22 development team. And continued to do that, for quite a few years after college, chasing a dream of being an Olympian, but at the same time, trying to figure out, what was I going to do post hockey? And there obviously wasn't the PWHL to play in, and so I started coaching, and I coached in the North York program and in the Oakville Hornets program, and really like just absolutely fell in love with being on the ice, bringing the energy, teaching these young women, everything that I know and all my experiences, being able to share that. And luckily enough, decided that it was going to be a career for me, and kind of went through the rankings and was still playing, was still coaching, kind of running around with my head chopped off. Got into coaching the Toronto Furies there for a year. And after I retired, I actually moved over to Slovakia with my husband for a year, and I coached and played on the same team. So that was a really cool experience because a lot of them didn't speak English. So it really helped me grow as a coach, and just kind of figure out how was I going to communicate with them and when I didn't know their language. And so that was really cool. And then I spent 4 amazing years at Princeton, obviously with Kara, and then went on into the PWHL with Boston. And that was a tremendous experience, growing, learning, doing things outside of coaching, just trying to grow the league. And here I am back at Princeton, super excited to be back as head coach. And honestly, it doesn't feel like I left. So that's really nice. And I know all the girls on the team. So it's been a really easy transition.
Wow, you covered a lot of territory in, in just a short period of time. I want to drill down on just a couple of those stops that you made along the way. Well, most importantly, if you go look at your elite prospects profile, you're listed as both a D and a forward. I know you primarily played D, but you said you were playing hockey with boys growing up. Like, were you playing both positions as a kid in youth hockey? And how did playing both positions help you as you progressed in your hockey career?
Yeah, so I did play a little bit of defense in boys hockey, but majority I played forward. And then so I played forward. I was committed as a forward to UNH and played 2 years as a forward for the Team Canada development team. And then Coach McCluskey was, halfway through my sophomore year was like, we were struggling to break pucks out and he wanted me to break the puck out and skate it out. So put me back to defense and absolutely fell in love with it. And then from there on, I played D.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So do you feel like playing with boys helped you make that transition? And what were the pros and cons of playing boys? And when would you recommend players make the switch if they do start playing with boys to girls hockey?
Yeah, I think it's a lot different now. I think there's so many young women that play this game and the caliber of hockey that's happening, especially in the GTA. Like there's thousands of young girls. And so I don't really know if playing boys hockey is the path that everyone has to take. But back, when I played, obviously we played checking, I think when we were in Pee Wee, so we were pretty young. And so keeping your head up was, a big thing that I learned. And definitely transitioning into the women's game, I think that really helped with just seeing the ice and being able to make plays. So I definitely think it helped from that side of things. And I feel like I was always a pretty tough player. And I think, coming from the boys' side and playing checking growing up, I think that, it was part of who I was as a hockey player.
Got it. Got it. And you also mentioned, playing for Hockey Canada and playing on the national team. You didn't get to play in the Olympics. What was that process like of being that close? Like, probably being a bubble player.
Yeah.
And what did you learn from that? And what advice would you give other players from, not being able to get to that level?
Yeah, so I made it sometimes and I didn't make it and I played in world championships and I was an alternate for the 2014 Olympics and it built resilience for sure. I mean, I think it's hard. That is hard emotionally, physically to play in the Olympics. It's a lot of, women's dreams, young girls, and but it's a roller coaster of, the highs when you make it and the lows when you don't. And but I think my biggest advice would be just jump 2 feet in and you can't be scared to fail and it's okay to fail. And also like it's not failing like even just to go to those camps the percentage is so small that you should just be proud to even have a chance to put the jersey on for your country and to be there and to be amongst some of the best in the world. And so I think for the young women out there, it's just jump 2 feet in, don't be scared to fail, give it everything you have because I have no regrets.
That's awesome. So you've been around some obviously phenomenal players that you've played with. I believe Marie-Philippe Poulin and Caroline Ouellette. Both going to be in the Hall. Well, Caroline's already in the Hall of Fame. Just a matter of time until Pooh is in there as well. What makes a great hockey player? Since you've been surrounded by them basically your entire career.
Yeah, I think for Pooh, I think it's just every single year she shows up and she's better. And we would literally be like, how is she still getting better? Like, I'm not exactly, I think she's 34 now, like, and she's still getting better. But I think most importantly, like, she enjoys it. She enjoys being at the camps. She enjoys the competitiveness. She loves to compete, but she also loves to have fun with her teammates. Like we were actually roommates the very first year of Hockey Canada under 19, and we'd pull pranks on each other. Like I came back and the laces were out of my shoes, and my shoes were in the oven. And so I think it's like it's enjoying the process, enjoying the grind of it because it is a grind. It's hard, right? But I think for her, it's just she does it with a smile and she loves to compete and she has fun.
So that first time you played with her, did you know she was destined for greatness at that young age?
Oh yeah, she was a beast. Like I think she was set 16 or 17 maybe, and she was just so strong, so explosive, fast, and you could see it that she was going to be special.
Okay, so like about a year ago, I interviewed Brianna Decker on what it takes to be the best of the best, and you must have played against her. She was like nasty out there, like she was so competitive. She didn't want to lose a single battle or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And I get the sense that Marie Philippe Poulin has similar traits where She is so competitive. She doesn't care who you are. She's going to beat you no matter what. Like, how do players get that mindset and that attitude and that confidence to be so determined to win all the time?
Again, I think it comes back to like not being scared to fail, like just going all in, like wanting to win, wanting to be the best at everything, but not settling. Like, and it's okay to lose, but figuring out how you're not going to lose again. And I think it's in everything you do, not just on the ice, but academically, with your friends. Like even right now, if you were like, "Hey, let's race to the door," like I would try and body check you over. I think it's just like it has to be everything you do has to be. You have to want to be a competitor to be that great.
Tired of spending hours emailing coaches with no idea if they're even reading your messages? Champs App messaging is the fast, easy way to send personalized, error-free emails and know exactly when they've been opened. The coach's name, school, and email are automatically populated for you, so every message is accurate and complete. Choose from smart templates that pull your details directly from your Champs App profile, whether you're sharing your schedule or a new video. Cut your email time in half and finally see which teams are showing interest. One parent told us, what used to take a whole evening now takes under 2 hours. Champs App messaging. Faster, smarter recruiting. Made easy. Let's move back to you now and move to your transition into coaching. So obviously your experience in Slovakia must have played a big role in your interest in pursuing a career in coaching. Obviously your husband played professional hockey. What were the triggers and what was it inside, kind of your brain that said, hey, maybe I really do want to pursue coaching as my, full-time career?
I started in skills and just doing little like either whether it be one-on-one or like 6-to-1 group sessions within the teams that I was coaching. And it was just so awesome to see them pick up the things that I was teaching in those and implement it in the games. And that excitement of they're learning, they're growing, and I'm teaching them, I think is what really like brought me in. But then I think the way you can impact them off the ice too is what really makes me want to be a coach and come back to the NCAA and do this at Princeton is just how you can impact their life away from the game and teaching them that like as much as we want to be Olympians or we want to play for USA or Team Canada, like there's so much more to life, but we can learn so much from this game and enjoy it and have fun together. And so I think those are the big things that really drew me in.
Gotcha, gotcha. Okay, and so I mean, you're really young to be coaching the under 18 Canadian team a few
Yeah.
years ago, and then ironically, you had Tara Watchorn, who's been on the podcast 3 times already, as your assistant coach. Like, first, how did you end up getting that job at such a young age? And then, well, I'll ask you about your brief stint at Boston University in a second. So,
Yeah, I was so when I lived in Slovakia, Mel Davidson had called me, and I think one of the development coaches, their parents were sick, and so they weren't going to be able to make it. And I was already over in Europe, and the tournament was in Germany. So she was like, "Hey, do you want to jump on the bench with the development team?" And I was like, "Sure, let's do this." And I had just retired, months earlier, and so I flew to Germany, and I was with Carla, who like weirdly enough our paths have crossed in PWHL, but anyway, and Noemi, and so we had a great coaching staff, and that's kind of where it started. And then I guess it went well, and Gina called me, to do the under 18 team, and yeah, Tara Watchorn and Steph McHugh, we just had a great coaching staff, and we were all young and eager, and it was unbelievable, and obviously we won, so that helped.
yes, yes, I remember that game very well because I knew some of the players on it, and remember the referees were also helpful too in that game, if I remember correctly. But we'll move along on that one. So you had a brief stint where you were named as the associate head coach at Boston University for about 3 or 4 months, and then all of a sudden you're no longer there. Maybe just talk about what happened over that summer of 2023.
Yeah, that was wild. Obviously took the job heading to BU and to coach with Tara, and obviously we played together growing up for years and years or against each other, but we were together on Hockey Canada. But I honestly didn't think Kara was ever going to leave the program, and kind of wanted to learn about scholarships and grow my resume a little bit in my hopes of being a head coach one day. And so Tara got the job at BU, and we had talked about, doing that together. And so we moved up to Boston, packed up, moved the family up there, and we were all in on going to BU. And then I got a call in September, like 1 or something really early. And it was Danielle Marmer, and she was like, "Hey, I'm the GM of Boston. I want you to come be the coach." And so we sat down, we had coffee, and it happened so quickly because the league started so late and everything was just, it was rolling, right? And around the corner was the draft. And so, sat down with Blake, my husband, and chatted about, what door that opens. And obviously it was really tough to leave Tara at that time. I know it's September and school starting, and but for my coaching career, and I think it was an unbelievable opportunity that I couldn't pass up.
Gotcha. And you didn't have to move the family a second
And we
time.
didn't
You're at
have to
least in the
move.
right
Yeah, like we
place.
were right there. We ended
Uh,
up like 10 minutes from the practice rink. So it
oh,
kind of
wow.
worked out perfectly.
Okay, perfect. All right, so let's just spend like 1 minute on the PWHL. What was that experience like, and how good are the players that are playing in there, especially like the first couple
Yeah.
of seasons with such a only 6 teams?
It was incredible. I mean, you're coaching Hillary Knight, Elena Mueller, Susanna Tapani, Jamie Lee Rattray, Keller, Frankel, like just these superstars. And so it was very humbling to, be the head coach of that and watch it grow, and how we went from, a draft to building a locker room to practices to games. And it all moved so fast. And but it was an incredible experience, and to do it alongside Danielle Marmer was really fun, both super young in that league. And so I think we both grew a lot.
Some amazing experiences you've squeezed into your short career. It's
Yeah.
just it's pretty impressive. All right, now we do need to move on to Princeton, but before we get to Princeton specifically, every time I get an Ivy League coach on, I need them to explain to our audience what makes the Ivy League unique compared to scholarship schools and dealing with the whole financial aid and all that kind of stuff as it relates to how you recruit players, because parents just always need to be re-educated or educated on how it works and what makes an Ivy League education and Ivy League athlete unique compared to other schools.
Yeah, it's hard to put in the just a little paragraph, but obviously we don't have scholarships, and so we're financial aid based. And so what that means is there's a calculator, and the parents will put in all their financial income, and kind of gives them a number of what it's going to cost to go to an Ivy League school. And the financial aid has come such a long way that I think, everyone should take a look at it and not just cross it off. You're getting the best education in the world. And, as I mentioned earlier in this, like, sure, we all want to be Olympians and we want to go play in the PWHL, and we can do all that. But then what? What's after? And Ivy League opens doors to just amazing jobs and opportunities, and the networking that it creates. And so these women are special. They show up and they're academically driven, but they're also athletically driven, and it's incredible what they do.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Thank you. And just so folks understand, because in your brief time, even at Boston University, you probably did learn a little bit about athletic scholarships. Maybe just to explain to folks, the concept of athletic scholarships and even academic scholarships at an Ivy League, and them not being available, I guess.
Yeah, so at a non-Ivy League school, they offer scholarships, which can be half scholarships or full scholarships to go to school for free, essentially. There's academic aid, obviously, at those schools, and at the Ivy League schools, we're just financial aid based, so we don't offer the scholarship piece.
All right, perfect. Thank you. And I would encourage folks to go listen to all the Ivy League coaches that we've had. Our actual first Ivy League coach, and I believe even our first coach on this podcast, was Kara Mori, episode 7. And so that was, over 115 episodes ago. So if you want to know even more about Princeton, I believe Kara went into even more detail about the school and all the different academic elements to it. But Kara's a unique person and had a big personality. And so I'm wondering, now that you're the head coach, because Kara went on to the PWHL to be the general manager in Vancouver, and I'm wondering how you're running the program differently than Kara, because obviously she was a big part of the program, given how she ran
Yeah.
it, and she ran it her way, and that was very clear even from when I first met her. I'm curious how you're leaving your mark and making it Courtney's Princeton Tigers.
Yeah, it's interesting because I spent 4 amazing years at Princeton with Kara, and so a lot of my coaching growth obviously happened at Princeton. I was, I think, 30 when I got to Princeton, and so Kara kind of showed me the ropes and into the Ivy League and what that means, and the kind of personalities that love to come and play and go to school. And so I think I wouldn't say it's a complete change because I was there with Kara, and so it's hard to just step in and do it completely different, and why change something that isn't broke. And so I think for me and for us as a staff, like our biggest thing is that we're going to show up for each other every single day, whether it's everyone's going to have a bad day, and there's 26 of us and we're all women, and there's a lot of there's a lot of emotions there. And so I think our biggest thing is showing up for each other, and that's if a teammate's having a bad day, showing up for them, telling them that it's going to be okay and you're going to show up for them, and we're all going to have bad days and that's okay, and we're going to pick each other up when we fall. And that's a big part of our mentality because it is hard to do what they do. They go to the best school in the world, and they're also playing D1 hockey, and so it's hard. And so you have to know that somebody else is going to have your back, and they're going to pick you up when you fall, because you're going to fall and that's okay, but we're going to jump 2 feet in and we're going to do this together.
Perfect, perfect. Now, since I spoke to Kara a few years ago, there have been some updates to Hobie Baker Rink. Maybe you can just talk about some of the changes. I believe that happened over the past summer, and it's obviously helped both the men's and the women's team already this year because you're both off to great starts. So maybe just talk about the rink updates.
Yeah, they new boards, new glass, and it looks fresh and it's brighter. Our benches got redone. So it's been really exciting, and obviously having some great wins this far and into the season for the men's and women's program. But Hobie is just such a special place to be and so historic. Now, the oldest rink in college hockey, and so it's a pretty special place to be able to show up to and call home.
I didn't realize that when Matthews closed just a few days ago that you now became the oldest one. And actually, you just reminded me of something that I should have mentioned earlier. People don't realize this, but that Hobie Baker and Patty Kesmer went to Princeton. Maybe just talk about that and talk about the history of Princeton just a little bit.
Yeah, we have banners of Hobie and Patty in the stands, and it's pretty incredible that they both came from Hobie Baker and Princeton, and just the history behind it, and the amount of people that have played on that surface it's incredible. And our players love every single day to show up to the rink, and there's actually some great videos out there of Hobie that everyone should tune into.
Perfect. Okay, so there's a cliche in hockey, and I think other sports that you play for the crest on the front, not the name on the back. Now, Princeton puts Princeton on the back of the jerseys, not names. So, can you just explain that for me? It makes it really hard for the play-by-play announcer. I noticed from your games recently. So,
Yeah, I think it was just a little bit of like, we're going to play for Princeton, like you mentioned, like playing for where we are, where our feet are, and that's at Princeton, and not for the name on the back of the jersey. And so I think it's unique, and sorry to those that makes their jobs a little bit tougher.
perfect. Okay, at least I understand it now. But it was really confusing how you had so many twins on the team with the same last name. So now I got it. All right, so I do have to commend you. You've done a great job in your first 15 games or so of the season. You're at the top of the ECAC standings. You're doing well in the polls. And what I've noticed is that you're the teams that I would have expected to be, your biggest competition, Cornell, Colgate, and Quinnipiac, have all been inconsistent this year. So how come the season's gone so well so far? It's definitely the last several games. I mean, you've basically beaten every ranked team. The last 8 or 9 games that you played.
I think we have a lot of hockey left, so we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, that's for sure. But it's been an unbelievable experience to be back. Our leadership group is absolutely amazing. They were freshmen when I was here last at Princeton, and so it's been pretty great to lean on them, inside the locker room. And I think a big testament to us winning is them and the culture. The players love each other, and they never give up. For 60 minutes, we're gonna go, and you can't sleep on the Tigers because we love comebacks. We love to win in overtime, apparently. And so I think, it's been exciting, but we have a lot of hockey left, that's for sure.
Gotcha. Now, I want to talk to you about your scoring on your team. So, obviously, you have two phenomenal players in Izzy Wonder and Mackenzie Alexander, but they also make up about 50% of your goal scoring. And then, kind of after them, everything kind of drops off. Maybe just talk about the depth of your team and what you can do to kind of spread the wealth around in terms of goal scoring and offense on the team.
Yeah, I think it's super important, obviously, to get goal scoring up and down the lineup and from different players. And I think, at the beginning of the year, we weren't seeing Izzy put the puck in the back of the net. And so, that was a great conversation that happens to goal scorers. And but for her to put the puck in the back of the net the last few games, some really big games heading into break here was huge. But obviously we want to see scoring up and down the lineup. And we have had some good goals from some other players too. And so but I think everyone has a role, and I think we're doing well.
Got it. So, what has been your strategy for the team? So, when I spoke with Laura Bellamy from Harvard, she talked about we really wanted to get buttoned down defensively, really get the basics all kind of in order, and then we're going to grow from there once we kind of make sure that we are a really hard team to play against. And it's taken her a couple of years. Obviously, it hasn't taken you as long to see success. But what is the kind of the style of play that you have for your team, and how are you going to kind of grow from where you are today?
Yeah, a lot of our mentality is habit based. So it's owning the blue lines, face off details, having good back checks, having good sticks, like simple habits to the game that doesn't matter what level you're at, whether you're 7 years old or whether you're playing in the PWHL or in the Olympics, like these are habits that if you do them, you will be a better hockey player and you will find success. And so that's really been our mentality. And to fight for 60 minutes, I think is the biggest thing.
Got it. Okay, great. So one of the unique things that I kind of found about your team is that you only have 22 players and you have four goalies. But I heard you talk recently saying that you had three goalies, even though there's four in your roster. First, let's just talk about the goalie situation. And you're playing at least three of them. So once again, it's kind of like I asked Laura the same question. She says, "Well, it's a huge asset to have three really good goalies and use them all in practice time." But how are you managing four goalies, or maybe it's three? And either way, it's still very complicated because there's only one net.
Yeah, having four goalies is definitely tough. I think, we battled some injuries in the past, and so I know obviously this decision was made before I took the job over, and there were four goalies coming in, and it's hard. It's hard, and one of our goalies sits in the stands every game. You can only dress three, but it's been great to be able to play, the three that are dressed and have some success. They've all had success in the net, so that's been great, and Uma's really stepped it up for us and been our number one down the stretch here. And so it's hard to manage, but I think it takes a special personality. And Kitty Williams is, our goalie that sits in the stands, and she's absolutely amazing. She's the best teammate, and she shows up and she works hard every practice, and she does a lot of things outside of the rink to set herself up for success, to develop and, hopefully take the net one day.
So I'm just curious because obviously, you as a coach are expecting the players, especially at an Ivy League school where it's harder to transfer. You're taking a 4-year approach. But how do you work with those players who aren't getting as much ice time? It doesn't need to be just the goalies that aren't getting as much ice time, and talk to them about, hey, don't focus on today and how much ice time you're getting today. Focus on the 4-year development and the academic element of that you're getting here. Like, how do you help them do that? Because all these players are obviously phenomenal players on whatever team they were coming from, and now they're coming to a situation where they're playing a fraction of what they used to or what they are used to in youth hockey.
Yeah, those are the hard conversations you have to have, right? Is with the players that are a little bit unhappy with their ice time. And I think it's a process, right? You're there for 4 years and it's about development. And skills is, as they say, like skills is for you and practice is for the team. And so we have skills 3 or 4 times a week, and there's tons of players out there and all three coaches, and we're out there, getting better together. And so I think the biggest thing is just, asking them to show up for those events, those skill sessions, and make sure they're getting better. But I think we do a good job of, getting all four of our lines out there and finding everyone ice time. And I think that's how the development really happens.
Gotcha. So, other than your goalie, though, you don't have any healthy scratches. Are you worried about injuries to your skaters? And why do you have such a short, roster, relatively speaking? Compared, I mean, there are some teams out there with more than 30 players on their roster.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a small roster. I think we had a few injuries of people where they had to quit hockey, unfortunately. The reality of that, and but yeah, I mean, do are we worried about injuries for sure? But I also think it helps with team culture where everyone's dressed and everyone's playing and feels a part of the team. So I think it's give or take a little bit on either side. It's nice to have everybody dressed and feel part of it all the time, and um, I think it helps with, when you're talking about those conversations you're having with those players that aren't getting a lot of ice time. Well, we're not having those conversations really because we're all playing. We're
Yes.
all getting better and we're all developing. So
I mean, if I was a skater, I'd just be so happy to be at Princeton because you never need to worry about nothing. It doesn't matter where you are in the lineup; you're playing every day, so
right.
that's pretty good. I saw basically every single player has played every game on your team, every skater, except for maybe I'm assuming one game for an injury or something like that. So,
Yeah.
so you were named after June 15th, the head coach of Princeton. So let's move into the recruiting side of things. How did you start picking up the recruiting process when you came to Princeton, because phone calls had already been made before you even got there.
Yeah, the recruiting process was crazy this summer. I was also like packing up my house with two kids and we're trying to move. And so um reached out to a few contacts, people. I've obviously been in the game for a long time, so I know a lot of people in the GTA and around the game. And so was lucky enough to get a bunch of contacts, names, numbers, and started making calls with my head chopped off. But yeah, it's crazy. June 15th is a crazy time for these young athletes, and I think the best advice is take the calls, learn about all the schools because all these schools are absolutely amazing. They really are. They all offer something different, and it's individual. What are they looking for? And so I think getting their feet on campus, meeting the coaches, I think that's the most important part of this process.
Gotcha. So, uh, since you've been through this before, this summer and this recruiting cycle was accelerated compared to all the previous ones, at least in the new version with the June 15th date and things like that. What was your perspective on what was going on this year on how quickly people committed in June, July, and August and September?
I was like, I'm pretty sure it wasn't like this when I was here 2 years ago. Like yeah, it was crazy this summer. People were committing on June 16th, like, and I just, I don't know. I think you just have to take a deep breath and realize that you want players to want to be at Princeton. I want them to want to show up every single day to this rink, and it's a special place, and these are special women that have aspirations, outside of hockey as well. And so they will find us and we will find them. And but taking a deep breath for everyone in the process, I think, is the biggest thing. And everyone's path is different and how they get there is different too. And that's okay. So for me, it was just taking a deep breath and being like, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna find great hockey players to come to Princeton that want to be here.
Gotcha. So, what do you think had happened? Was it the impact of the house settlement agreement? Was it like NIL, name, image, likeness? Was it just people being better prepared at the start of the season, or coaches being worried and making offers, exploding offers, so that they don't lose out on top players?
Yeah, I think a little bit of everything. Like I think that there's camps and people are getting out and they're seeing these campuses a lot earlier in their life, and uh, so that also helps, right? If you've already toured the school or you've gone to the camp for summers and you've met the coaches and you feel good and they offer you a spot, I think that helps. And I also think there is a little bit of anxiety from the coaching side as well, and that like you don't want to miss. And so for the young players out there, like we are anxious too about June 15th as coaches. And I think that's okay, right? Like we're all kind of doing this together and it is scary and it's a lot of phone calls, but I think getting your feet on campuses and just listening and taking in all those calls is the best thing they can do.
Gotcha. So, what is it that you look for when you're recruiting? So, like, when next year's June 15th rolls around, what are the kind of players that you'll be calling because they meet certain criteria for you?
Yeah, I think first and foremost is you have to be a good human for it to come to our program because we talk about showing up for each other and that's on good days and bad days. And so you got to kind of leave the selfish part of you at the door, but also like habits. What are you doing away from the puck? Are you physical? Are you fast? Those are attributes that we love to see, but it's not always when the puck's on your stick. It's what are you doing? How are you getting open? Are you setting picks for your teammates? I think those are the biggest things that we look at when, we obviously watch tons and tons of hockey, but habits are a really big thing. Are you having good changes? Are you taking long shifts? Like those are all things that we look at.
Perfect. All right. And what advice would you have for, 2028s and 2029s? Because that's what your focus is now, since you're pretty much done for the next two upcoming two recruiting classes. What advice do you have for those players and parents?
That's a loaded question. I think it's, make sure you're present where your feet are. Like, I think we're so eager to jump into what's next that we're not present in our hockey season that we're currently at. Like, I know people are committed for next season already in the minor leagues, and it's just like, it's be where your feet are. And how do you play away from the puck? Are you a good teammate? Are you working hard? Are you competitive in everything you do in life? Because we talked about that at the beginning of this call. Competing for every single puck, competing for everything in your life, I think is so important. And to be a competitor is what's going to make you great. And also to the parents is take a deep breath and let your kids be kids and be proud of them. And don't forget to tell them how proud you are of them.
Perfect. All right, Courtney, I want to thank you so much for doing this, especially right around holiday time. I know it's been a whirlwind for you since you first started with the team, and congrats on the amazing success with the team so far this season. And obviously, wish you best of luck for the back half of the ECAC conference.
Thank you so much. Happy holidays.
I want to thank Courtney for coming on the podcast. She had some great insights into what it takes to be a great player, playing at Princeton, and of course, the recruiting process. You can connect with Courtney on the Princeton website or via her ChampsApp profile. Links to both are in the show notes.